समारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करल्लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम ओम ओम। स्वरूपानुसंधानम श्लोक 4। यदज्ञानतो भाति विश्वं समस्तं विनष्टं च सद्यो यदात्मप्रबोधे मनोवागतीतं विशुद्धं विमुक्तं परं ब्रह्म नित्यं तदेवाहमस्मि। यदज्ञानतः विश्वं समस्तं भाति। Samsara is caused by Atma Ajnana or Atma Avidya. Therefore, Avidya Nashe Samsara Nashaha. When avidya is destroyed, samsara also gets destroyed. When does avidya get destroyed? When jnana arises. Atma prabodhe avidya nashaha. How long does it take for avidya to go? It does not take any time. That is why the author uses the word sadhyaha. Vinashtancha sadhyaha yadatma prabodhe. Sadhyaha means immediately, without time gap, without time lapse. There is no kala vyavadhana between jnana and avidya nasha. Therefore, there is no kala vyavadhana between jnana and moksha. That is why Bhagavatam gives the example of eating food. Tushtihi pushtihi kshudapayonughasam. The benefits of eating food. Tushtihi, there is pleasure in eating. Pushtihi, nourishment. And kshudapayaha, appeasement of hunger. These are the benefits of eating food. How long does it take? You eat today and tomorrow you get it. It is not so. With every morsel it happens. With every morsel of food you eat, you can see the benefit of eating also. It doesn't take a time gap. You eat one morsel, a little hunger is gone. You get a little satisfaction. And so is the result of Atmajnana. The more you get knowledge, the more you assimilate the knowledge, you see the benefit. That is why after 6 months, 1 year, they start seeing the benefit. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Very recently, a lady called me. She lost her husband on account of COVID. It just happened a few days back. And she said, because of attending Vedanta classes, she is able to withstand the shock. She told me again and again. Though I was very, sad about the incident, to hear this was a solace. So sadhyaha, immediately, it does not have time gap. You don't have to wait till the end of your life. Vedanta does not give posthumous reward. The reward is found now and here. Krishna says, Pratyakshaavagamam. You can see it pratyaksha. It is a directly evident. Therefore, sadhyaha, manovagatitam, mana atitam. It transcends manas. Atma is not available to the manas, the mind. The mind can objectify everything. It cannot objectify the Atma. It cannot objectify Brahman. Because Brahman is the witness of the mind also. Brahman is the drashta, the sakshi. The mind cannot objectify the drashta. The mind is like an instrument. Like your spectacles, your glasses. There was an ignorant gentleman, and he could not see properly. He had some problem in his eyesight. Then his friend tells him, If you wear glasses, you will be able to see everything. And he takes him to a shop and buys glasses for this ignorant man. And he says, wear it. You can see everything now. And he wore it. And he started seeing everything. After a while, he complained. The friend asked, what happened? I cannot see my eyes with this. I cannot see my eyes with these glasses. Then the friend said, of course you cannot see your own eyes. Then this gentleman said, but you said I can see everything with my glasses. So the everything excludes your own eyes. None of us have seen our own face. None of us have seen our own eyes. Has anyone seen his or her own eyes? Nobody has seen in this world. Because eye is the seer of everything else. If you cannot see your eye, how can you see eye of eye? Brahman is the eye of eye. Chakshushas chakshuhu. That is how Kenopanishad puts it. Shrotrasya shrotram manaso manoyat. It is Shrotrasya shrotram, ear of the ear. Manasaha manaha, it is the mind of mind. Vachoha vacham, it is the vak of vak. Vak means vagindriya, the sense of speech. It is the vak of vak. Savu pranasya pranaha, it is the prana of prana. Chakshushas chakshuhu, it is the eye of eye. Therefore you cannot see, eyes cannot objectify, no senses can objectify, even manas cannot objectify. That is why you cannot visualize Brahman. You cannot imagine Brahman. It is not possible. Many people say, I meditate on Nirguna Brahma, because they have been told Ishwar Nirguna hai, Nirakar hai. God doesn't have form. So they meditate on Nirguna Brahma. That is what they claim. But you cannot visualize Nirguna Brahma. In fact, what they do, they might be visualizing empty space. Empty space is not Nirguna Brahma. Space is Saguna. Or they might be visualizing a light. Therefore, people who claim they pray to Nirguna, they pray to the formless God, they have not really understood the formless. To understand the formless, you have to come to Vedanta. Until you come to Vedanta, formless cannot be understood. You are stuck somewhere. In Vedanta, we don't encourage imagination. Brahman cannot be imagined. But mostly, I find people who listen to Vedanta casually, they think they understand. But what happens is, instead of understanding, they kind of imagine. Everything is one. They kind of imagine. They try to visualize oneness. But this imagination or visualization does not serve any purpose. You have to understand. Visualization is encouraged in Upasana. Because Upasana deals with the Saguna. You visualize a Krishna, the form of Krishna, or any episode from the life of Krishna. You can do meditation. You can visualize Hanuman jumping. You can meditate. It is an upasana. You can visualize the rupa, the form, and you can visualize the leela, Bhagavan's leela. Say Krishna leela or Rama leela. Leela means any part of Bhagavan's life. An episode of Ramayana, whichever episode you like to visualize. Rama and Lakshmana walking in Dandakaranya, or Rama seated in Ayodhya, or Rama fighting. Any episode. It can become an upasana. But when you visualize, you should be fully aware that you are just visualizing it. Recently, I heard someone seeing a picture and saying the garland is shaking. He is seeing a picture, any Devata's picture, and he says, see, the garland is shaking. Garland doesn't shake. It is just a picture. If you really see it as shaking, it might be a hallucination. Therefore, when you visualize, you should be fully aware that it is just a visualization. If you think certain non-existing things are real, then it is a problem. So, visualizing any form of Devata and meditating, it contributes towards Chitta Shuddhi. You get Chitta Shuddhi. But when we talk about Vedanta, visualization doesn't serve the purpose. Vedanta is not upasana. Upasana is a manasa karma. It is a mental activity. Shankaracharya is very clear about it. Upasanam nama manasam karma. It is a mental activity where you deliberately visualize something. But jnana is not a manasa karma. Jnana is reality based, fact based. Upasana is Purusha Tantra. Purusha Tantra means it depends on you. You can choose what you want to visualize. But in jnana, you cannot choose. You have to see what is there. For example, in front of me there is a table. The knowledge of the table, I have to see the table as it is. I cannot choose to see the table as a chair. If I say that this is a chair, I like to see it as a chair. That means something is wrong with me. As soon as I open my eyes, I have to see a table in front of me. That is when my eyes are okay and my mind is all right. If it is a table and I see it as a chair, that means something is wrong with me. My wish, my choice does not work when it comes to jnana. I have to see it as it is. I don't have a scope for visualization. Therefore, jnana is vastu tantra. It is fact based. Whereas upasana is purusha tantra. It depends on you, how you want to do it. And so is karma. All activities are purusha tantra. It depends on your choice and your effort. That is why I was telling someone a few days back, Sri Vidya is not really a Vidya. I made this statement. Sri Vidya is not really a Vidya. They didn't understand. I think two people were there in front of me. Hope both are listening now. Why Sri Vidya is not a Vidya? Because Sri Vidya is an upasana. Though it is called Vidya, it is an upasana. You meditate on Devi, visualizing certain things. That is Sri Vidya. It is not a jnana. It is a very good sadhana. It gives a chitta shuddhi. But it is not jnana. Because it is not vastu tantra. You are not understanding the reality, the absolute in Sri Vidya. It is a stepping stone, no doubt about it. Therefore, in Vedanta, Vedanta is not an upasana. It is understanding the truth. You cannot just try to visualize everything is Brahman. I visualize, I imagine. That is not how Vedanta works. It is understanding and understanding. You understand the truth and then you assimilate it. I hope I am making it clear. Am I making sense or not? Yes or no? Yeah, yeah, good, good, good. Yeah, 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 good, good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. Fine, fine, fine. So, it is mana atitam, mano atitam. It transcends manas, mana atitam. And vagatitam. It transcends words. Brahman transcends the words. This has to be understood. I think that is where I stopped in the last class. This needs some explanation. I think that's where I stopped. See, there is a vachaka and vachya. Vachaka is the word. Word is called vachaka. Literally, vachaka means denoter. Denoter. Vachaka. And vachya. Vachya means denoted. Vachya and vachaka. For example, the table in front of me is vachya. The word table, T-A-B-L-E, the word table, it is vachaka. It is denoter. The word is vachaka. And the meaning of the word is called vachya. These are two Sanskrit terms. Everything in this world becomes a vachya of one or another vachaka. Everything in the world is vachya. It can be the vachya of one or another vachaka. We have a detailed analysis of the vachya vachaka sambandha. The relation between vachya and vachaka. What is the relation between vachya and vachaka? It has been analyzed thoroughly in our tradition. In fact, we have books after books written on this. The tradition has analyzed everything into great detail. The more we go deeper, the more we understand how less we know. That is what happens with me. In fact, I am telling about myself. The more I study, the more I become aware of how ignorant I am. There is so much to study. The tradition is so profound. All our traditional systems of knowledge, not necessarily Vedanta, any other system, even Vyakarana or any system, to that matter. A word becomes vachaka of a vachya. For a word to become vachaka of a given vachya, there has to be something called Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. Shabda Pravritti Nimitta means a factor which enables the functioning of a word on its meaning. A factor which enables the working of a word on a given meaning. In short, it is a factor which connects a word with its meaning. A factor which connects a word with its meaning. There are 4 Shabda Pravritti Nimittas. Please analyze this later on, what I am saying. It is, a little involved. Not very involved, but a little involved. There are 4 Shabda Pravritti Nimittas. Number 1, Jati. Jati. Jati means a generality, a group of things which have similar features is called a jati. For example, all cows in the universe, they have a similar feature. That's why they are all called one jati. In Sanskrit it is called Gotva jati. Gotva jati. All cows belong to a jati called Gotvam. That is why the word cow, the word gauhu, refers to the object cow based on this jati, Gotvam, Gotva jati. That is how you connect the word with the meaning. When I utter the word cow, what comes to your mind? The object cow. How do you connect? Because the jati is in your mind. All the general features of a cow and its association with the word cow is there in your mind. That is how you connect the word cow with the object cow. So jati is a Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. Likewise, guna. Number 2, guna. Guna means any attribute. It can be color, it can be number, it can be height, any attribute. Height, weight, number, color, anything. Guna. So you can describe with words using any guna. Let's say black. The black cow. The black dog. Black cloth. With the guna I can specify. Black, white, red, any guna, any color or not necessarily color, height or whatever. Then kriya, action. You can describe someone with action. For example, the word driver, driver. What does driver mean? One who does the action of driving is called driver. It is an action based word. Driver, even doctor. All profession words are basically action based words. So many words can be derived in terms of action. Even speaker, action word. So kriya is the third shabda pravritti nimitta. And the fourth one is a sambandha, relation. You can describe something in terms of a relation. For example, who is Devadatta? You can say he is Yajnadatta's son, son of Yajnadatta, son of so and so, daughter of so and so, wife of so and so. There are so many relations in the world. So with the relation you can describe. Let me take one example. I have to describe Krishna. I say there is a person called Krishna. Then you ask me, who is Krishna? There are many people. Who is Krishna among many people? Then I say, Krishna is a Yadavaha. Yadavaha. It is Jati. A group of human beings. That is one way of describing the Yadava Krishna, not the local Krishna. Yadava Krishna. Yadava Niba Yadukula Nandana Madhava Madhusudana Baro. There is a beautiful song. Yadava Niba Yadukula Nandana. You can Google it out. Yadavaha. It is a Jati. With the Jati I describe Krishna. Then Guna. What is his Guna? He is black, like a cloud. Meghashyamaha. Ghanashyamaha. Ghanaha iva shyamaha. Ghanashyamaha. Darshan do Ghanashyam nath mori. Akhiyan pyasi re. Even with that there is a song. Meghashyama, Ghanashyama. It is another description. I am using Guna. Then there is a Kriya. With the Kriya also I can describe Krishna. Gopalaha. He is Gopala. What action does he do? He takes care of cow. Gopala. Bhajare Gopalam. Sadashiva Brahmendra wrote. Bhajare Gopalam. Then Sambandha. With the relation, you can describe Krishna. Vasudeva Sutaha. son of Vasudeva, son of Devaki, Devaki Nandanaha, Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam. With Sambandha, you can describe Krishna. For describing Krishna, we can use all four. Jati, Guna, Kriya, Sambandha. Because Krishna is Saguna. But the Brahman, which is nothing but the true nature of Krishna also. Krishna is Parabrahma. The true self of Krishna. The true self of all of us. As far as the true nature is concerned, there is no difference between me and Krishna. There is no difference between you and Krishna. Krishna doesn't have to work for the jnana. You have to work for the jnana. That is the only difference. The true self is Parabrahma, Nirguna Brahma. It cannot be described with words. It cannot be the Vachya of any Vachaka. Brahman does not become Vachya of any Vachaka, any word. That is why Brahman is called Avachyam. Avachya. When we speak generally, there is another meaning for Avachya. The words that you should not speak is called Avachya. Any, foul language is Avachya. But when we say Brahman is Avachya, it is technically true, logically true. Because Brahman does not become Vachyartha of any word. Why it does not become Vachyartha? Because there is no Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. There is no factor which can connect a Vachaka with the Brahman. The four Shabda Pravritti Nimittas do not exist when it comes to Brahman. What are the four? Jati. Brahman does not have Jati. In the world, there are Jatis. For a Jati, there should be more than one members of the same group with the similar features. Then you can make a Jati. But Brahman does not have another parallel. There are no two Brahmans. Therefore, there is no Jati for Brahman. It is Advitiyam. In Advitiya, you cannot have a Jati. And Guna. Brahman does not have Guna. Nirgunatvat. Kriya. Brahman does not have Kriya. It can neither drive nor speak nor walk. Nishkriyatvat. Brahman is Nishkriya. And there is no Sambandha. Brahman does not have any Sambandha. Asangatvat. It is Asanga. And Sambandha is possible when there are two things. In Ekameva Advitiyam, you cannot talk of a Sambandha. Sambandha is always Dvinishtha. Sambandha Dvinishtha. It depends on two things. In Advitiya, there cannot be a Sambandha. Therefore, Brahman does not have Jati, Guna, Kriya and Sambandha. There is no Shabda Pravritti Nimitta. There is nothing to connect a Vachaka with the Brahman. Therefore, Brahman is Avachyam. That is why the author says, Vagatita transcends words. Then what are you trying to explain? You can ask me this question. If Brahman cannot be Vachya, then what am I trying to do? That is my difficulty. Not only my difficulty, it is the difficulty of Vedanta. The Vedanta has to tell something. The Vedanta has to reveal something which does not become the meaning of a word. And Vedanta has no other tools than words. Vedanta has no other tools than words. I am dealing with words. And Brahman is not Vachya. All words are only Vachaka. But Brahman does not become Vachya. This is our difficulty. But the Vedanta overcomes this difficulty. How? There is an indirect way of communication. It is called Lakshana. The process of indirect communication. The Brahman is communicated with the help of words indirectly, through implication. The method of Lakshana is adopted in Vedanta. In fact, any word used for Brahman, it works only through Lakshana. Even the word Brahman. The meaning of the word Brahman, the direct meaning of the word Brahman cannot be the Nirguna Brahma, cannot be the ultimate reality. Even that works with the Lakshana Vritti, an implication. Therefore, Brahman becomes Lakshyartha, the indirect meaning or implied meaning of certain words. So Brahman is lakshyate. It is revealed in an indirect way. So how it is revealed indirectly, we will see later on in due course of time. So Vagatita, Vishuddham, pure, free from all impurities. Pure means there is no impurities. What are the impurities? Whatever you can consider as impurity. Anything that troubles you is impurity. Anything that bothers you is impurity. There can be physical impurities. That is why we keep cleaning our body. Definitely we have to clean our body. And some people become cleanliness freaks. They have to wash and wash and wash. And for everything they have to use a napkin. But these cleanliness freaks also cannot clean their body fully. Because the body is a house of impurities. The body is a storehouse of impurities. There is so much of filth in the body. Only thing is, it is not visible outside for others. The body cannot be absolutely pure. It can be relatively pure, relatively clean. Then mind, manas. Manas is also mostly impure. We can keep cleaning the mind. All the sadhanas are aimed at purifying the mind. We have to keep the mind as much clean as possible. In spite of that, the mind cannot be absolutely pure. There will be some impurity. It is like a cowshed. A cowshed cannot be always clean. When I was a child, I used to clean a cowshed. I have done that work also. So clean the cowshed. You clean and go. After a few minutes, there is another cow dung and urine. Then go and clean again. The mind is also like a cowshed. It has to be cleaned constantly. Otherwise, it will accumulate. The impurities do accumulate. That is why regular sadhana is needed. Regularly you do japa. Regularly you do some introspection. Regularly you remind yourself of the values. Regular shavana. These sadhanas keep the mind clean up to a certain extent. And when the mind is clean, you can stay with the Atma Jnana. The purpose of cleaning the mind is to get Atmajnana. Cleaning the mind itself is not our ultimate goal. Cleaning the mind is needed because we have to get Atmajnana. And once you understand, you are the Atma, you are the Brahman, you won't have the need to keep cleaning something. Because you know you are the Vishuddham Brahma. You are the pure Brahman. The Brahman does not need cleaning. Because it is ever Vishuddha. Always pure. Always clean. Therefore, once you get established in Atmajnana, the impurities of the mind also does not bother you. Vishuddham, free from all forms of impurity. Vishuddham and Vimuktam, ever mukta, ever free. Your Swarupa is ever free, ever mukta. There are people who claim that now you are a samsari, you have to become mukta. If you are a samsari now and you have to become mukta, then there is a problem. The first problem is, if you have become mukta, you have lost yourself. That means you have transformed into another thing. That means you are not there. This is one problem. Becoming something else cannot be moksha. Becoming something other than yourself cannot be moksha. Another problem is, now I am a samsari and I become mukta. That means moksha was not intrinsic to me. I have gained, I have acquired a new attribute called moksha, which was not already there. Then it will be like a coating. An Acharya gives the example of coating gold with the copper or any other metal. Artificial gold coated. My God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, like the artificial artificial coating of gold. How long does it last? It does not last very long. Sooner or later it will start fading away. Likewise, if moksha is not my swarupa, if I have gained moksha, then it will be temporary. Therefore, you cannot become mukta or you cannot gain moksha. Therefore, we have to say moksha is your swarupa. Your essential nature is mukta, mukta swarupa. You are already mukta. It is not that you have to get moksha. It is not that you have to become mukta. If we are already mukta, then why do we need to work for moksha? The answer is, you don't work for moksha. You don't work for becoming mukta. You don't work for getting moksha. Then why do I work for? You work for understanding that you are already mukta. The jnana does not give you moksha. Jnana makes you discover that you are always mukta. That is why today I was studying a text called Sankshepa Sharirakam. After the teaching, the Shishya tells the Guru, I don't know where the samsara was. Kvagataha samsara. Where the samsara is gone and whether it was really there at all. The samsara was not at all there. That is what you discover when you get moksha, when you get jnana. So vimuktam param brahma nityam tadevahamasmi. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Yeah. Namaste, 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 namaste.